unit 4, that is convolutional neural network. First of all, a convolutional neural network, it is a feed-forward neural network that is generally used to analyze the visual images by processing the data with grid-like technology. We can call it ConvNet also. So, we have studied in the previous unit that what is feed-forward neural network. That means the data always moves in one direction in a feed-forward neural network. So, our CNN, when I say CNN says convolutional neural network. So, a CNN is again, it is a feed-forward neural network which is generally used to analyze the visual images. So, the main point of concern about CNN, that we can say what is the main purpose of CNN is to recognize the images. This CNN, this convolutional neural network, it basically works on the images. It is used to analyze the images by processing them with grid-like topology. Then, a CNN network, it is used to detect and classify the objects in an image. Whenever we see any kind of image, in an image we can have different objects. So, our convolutional neural network, it detects and it classifies the various objects in the image. In CNN, every image is represented in the form of array of pixel values. Whatever objects we have in our image, or we can say the whole image, it will be represented in the form of array of pixel values. We have pixels, any screen if we say, it is composed of number of pixels. Pixel is what the smallest unit in which we can store the data. So, our every image, it is represented in the form of array of pixel values. Talking about the background of CNN, Yen Li-kun, the director of Facebook AI Research Group, he is the pioneer of the convolutional neural network. He built the first CNN, which was called LeNet. So, you might be asked that which was the first CNN? So, the first CNN that was built, it was known as LeNet. It was built in the year 1988. LeNet, it was used for character recognition tasks like reading the zip codes and the digits. In the field of deep learning, CNN, it is among the class of deep neural network which was being mostly deployed in the field of image recognition. Though with CNN we can do other tasks also, but the main purpose of designing this CNN, why we have designed the CNN in the field of deep learning, basically it is a class of neural network which is mostly deployed in the field of image recognition. So, the primary difference between our convolutional neural network and other ordinary neural network, it is that CNN takes input as a two-dimensional array and operates directly on the images rather than focusing on the feature extraction, which other neural network focus on. What does it do? It takes input as a two-dimensional array and it operates directly on the images rather than focusing on the features part. As you can see in the image provided, if we talk about this real image of digit 8, if we want to display an image which has a number 8 written into it, now how will this be represented in our convolutional neural network? First of all, it will design an array of that particular image. What does it do? Wherever you have something in that particular array, there the digit 1 will be placed, and wherever there is blank, we can put the value 0. So the digit 8, it is represented in the form of pixels of zeros and ones. So this is a basic thing that how our CNN, it is storing the images into our network. So basically, it was being employed for the purpose of image recognition. So it is important that how do you store these images. So the basic difference between storing the images in the traditional neural network that we have talked about is that in the traditional neural network, whenever some image used to be provided, we used to focus on the feature extraction of the image. Like if a ball is provided, then the features can be what is the color of the ball, what is the size of ball, etc. So feature extraction was a main feature in the traditional neural network. While in CNN, we do not do that way. What do? Whenever we get an image, we store it in the form of array of pixels. Like number 8 we have just stored, we make an array for that, and the digit 8, it will be represented in the form of pixels of zeros and 1. Wherever we have number 8 coming in any particular block, there we will put the number 1, and wherever it is blank, there we will put the number 0. So that is how the representation is done in the form of pixels of zeros and ones in our CNN. Talking about more explanation about CNN, the term convolutional. What is this term convolutional? Since we design something, if we create something, we need to keep a meaningful name for it. In a very similar way, CNN, neural network, we know that it is a collection of different nodes that is inspired from our human brain. Now the question comes that why has the name convolution given to this CNN? Basically, the term convolutional, it means a mathematical function which is derived by integration from two distinct functions. It includes rolling different elements together into a coherent whole. We have different elements in the images. We put them together into a coherent whole by multiplying them. So, convolution, it describes how the other function influence the shape of one function. So, in other words, it is all about the relation between different elements and their operation as a whole. If we are analyzing a particular image, we will take different elements of that particular image and we will understand the relationship between the different elements, and then we will perform operation on them as a whole. So that is why the name convolutional, it is being given to our CNN, because it means mathematical function which is derived by the integration from two distinct functions. That includes rolling different elements together into a coherent whole by just multiplying them. So convolutional, it describes how the other function, they influence the shape of one function. So it is all about the relation between the elements and their operation as a whole. If we talk about the primary task of CNN, what are the primary tasks that our CNN performs? They are like, first of all, the first thing is to classify the visual content. Whenever a particular image is being provided to our CNN, the first task is to classify the visual content. That is to describe what they see. Second is to recognize the object within a scenery, we can say. For example, what are objects that we have in a particular scenery? For example, we can have eyes, we can have an image of a particular person. So we can have eyes on it, nose, lips, ears, on the face, etc. We can have different things. So the next task is to recognize the objects in a particular image or scenery or whatever we can say. Next is to gather the recognized objects into cluster. Now, once we have recognized that what all objects do we have, it is important to cluster them together. For example, we have to cluster them. If there are eyes, there are different people and different eyes of them have been shown. So, we will cluster them together. Eyes with eyes, noses with noses, ears with ears and so on. So, the primary task of our CNN are first is to classify the visual content. That means to describe what all they see in that particular image. Second is to recognize the objects within a particular image. Like for example, we can say we can have eyes, nose, ears, etc. Then the third would be to gather these recognized objects into cluster. For example, we can have clusters like eyes with eyes have to be clustered together, noses with noses have to be clustered together. So that means in the image we are making cluster of different objects that we have in our image.